Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangle.
Well, welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast. My name is Joseph Sangle, and I am part of the I Was Broke, Now I'm Not team. I'm joined, as always, and each and every week, with my co-host, Megan Hibbard. Are you fired up, Megan?
Yes.
Yes. Welcome to the podcast yet again. Happy Monday.
Got my coffee.
Got your coffee. I got coffee.
We're good.
In my limited edition camo cup from our team member, David Emmons, who bought it for me one Christmas long ago. So subsequently tried to buy more, and they just are not available. Yeah. They're awesome. We hope everybody's doing great today. Today for the podcast, we're going to talk about what?
Yes, so today we are talking about the difference between spenders and savers. If you are married to one, you know there's a difference. So our question today, or if you're just a person, there's a difference.
Yes.
So our question today is, I'm a saver, but my husband is a spender. How can we make our finances work? Do you have any tips for understanding the difference between savers and spenders?
Yes, and so we always like to bring right now relevant information as part of this podcast. And so if you are married to someone who is not like you, which is most people, yes. So a spender is married to a saver, saver's married to a spender a lot of times, or if you have siblings, chances are some of you are spenders, some of you are savers. I know that is a fact in my family. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the reality of it, and then we're going to talk about some practical ways to deal with it. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, it'll be very helpful right now on this Monday. Before we dive into answering that question, though, we're going to go to one of my favorite times of the podcast. You know what time that is. Let's go.
Now it's time to get caught up with our current money events.
The Monday Money Tip Podcast is sponsored by the Fully Funded Life Membership Program. The Fully Funded Life Membership Program provides all you need to begin winning with money and live a fully funded life. Fully Funded Life includes 4 key components: courses, challenges, coaching, and community. Courses provide financial education. Challenges help you make massive progress in a specific money skill. Coaching is provided by the Fully Funded Life Certified Coaches through open office hours held multiple times each month. All of the courses, challenges, and coaching results in an outstanding community that help equip, motivate, and encourage you to take your next financial steps toward your fully funded life. Fully Funded Life, courses, challenges, coaching, community. All that's missing is you. Learn more and receive a special offer for Monday Money Tip listeners today at fullyfunded.life/MMT. That's www.fullyfunded.life/MMT.
All right. Well, today we're going to talk about the new child tax credit.
Yes.
Now, it's new as in it's been around a little over a month, and I want to explain what it is. Eligible parents can get half of this credit, up to $300 a month for each child under age 6, and up to $250 for each one ages 6 to 17. Now, that started July 15th, and it's going to happen through the rest of the year. They can claim the other half when they file their 2021 taxes next year. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a big deal. So in most people's bank accounts, boom, the money went in there per child, making everyone wish they had 21 children under the age of 6. No, I made that up. But here's the deal. Most parents don't have to do anything to get the funds since the IRS already has their 2020, or if they don't have those, they have their 2019 returns show that claim the regular child tax credit, which was $2,000 for each child up to age 17 until this year. Roughly 39 million households, covering 88% of children, will start receiving the monthly payments automatically. The IRS has already sent more than 36 million letters to the parents. From the office of the White House, President Joseph R. Biden.
It was signed by him.
Yeah. Informing them of the enhanced credit and their potential eligibility. Mm-hmm. The payments stem from the Democrats' $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Happened in January, which beefed up the existing child tax credit, giving parents up to $3,600 for each child under age 6 and up to $300 for each one age 6 to 17. Take $3,000 divided by 12, it's $250 a month. $3,600 divided by 12 is 300 months. That's how they got to the numbers. Isn't that exciting?
That is exciting.
The full enhanced credit will be available for head of households earning $112,500, joint filers making up to $150,000 a year, after which it begins to quickly phase out. This is... And this is very interesting. This is a very interesting social experiment. Mm-hmm. Now, I am a fiscal conservative. And so for me, it's like they're handing out money.
They are handing out money.
They are handing out money. And this is a redistribution of wealth in one way. Mm-hmm. It is. However, just as with the Payroll Protection Plan, the CARES Act, and Families First Act and all that, we have a bunch of debt as a nation. But at least this debt, we know where the money went. It's going into the hands of average Americans. And the big complaint in 2008 and 9 when they had the financial crisis was the money all went to the banks. So he sent billions of dollars of debt and it all went to banks. And it turns out most of us aren't very excited about that.
No.
So the good news is this is going to human beings. And it really is a social experiment to say, does this help with this child poverty issue? And so we're going to get some data.
Yeah.
And it's a very expensive experiment.
It is.
But hey, it's in law. And we're going to get to see what this turns out to be. And I think that's interesting. So the interesting thing is, if they were getting $2,000 per child, now it's $3,600. They'll have already received $1,800. So they're going to get $200 less of a credit when they file their taxes. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And if it's for age 6 to 17, well, they'll have gotten $1,500. So they'll only get $1,500 with their taxes, which means it'll be a $500 reduction. So it's going to affect tax returns a wee little bit, $200 to $500 per kid. Yeah. So if you have 4 kids, it can be a lot.
Yeah. So you really have to plan out that money.
Sangel's thoughts on this is it is an interesting social experiment. I would not have done it, but hey, it's in law. I'm very interested in the results of it. And so we'll see what happens. Yeah. And if you're receiving these dollars, I would love to hear what you are actually doing with the money. I was talking with family on vacation on my wife's side, and it was interesting. This came up that they said, hey, for our baby girl, we've actually chosen to take every one of those dollars and put it in her 529. They've actually started the 529 with it. So it's going towards college. So they're not living in poverty. It becomes like bonus money, which is excellent. Yep. And so that is an excellent use of those dollars. So that is a great idea. So I would just encourage you, like any money you receive, plan it before you spend it. And remember, give, save, invest, plan the rest. Yep. Awesome.
So we're going to use, I don't know if we'll use all of it, but a lot of it will go into Logan's 529. So.
Look at you responsible parents. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. Okay.
You're not going to buy a boat with it? Another boat?
No, one's enough. All right. Our success story today is from Jennifer, who's participating in the I Was Broke Now I'm Not group study at her church. And she goes on to say, I am 3 months into my new financial approach based on the IWB and IN method. 3 months start to give you more of a handle on where your money is actually going. I have been tracking my budget weekly and also doing monthly budgets and reconciliation using the IWB and IN Excel spreadsheet. Now that we are watching our money, it is starting to behave and we are truly realizing the value of a dollar. As Joe says, the landing of the reality that money is finite and it takes a while to build. To start to think about how many hours I had to work for that thing I want to buy, it's sobering and gives me pause to think if I really need it. Often I don't. I'm paying my Visa off monthly because I don't have to guess what to pay now versus what to defer to later. I know my commitments and set aside that money versus thinking that I have money to play with because it's still in my account. I'm saving in known expense category and now can pay cash for things like car repairs, pet fees, gifts, and seasonal sports costs for the kids. Before these went on the Visa and sat. Overall, very positive change to our lives. So thank you so much for doing the small group and sending the I Was Broke Now I'm Not poster, so that's the ladder poster, and book. I didn't realize how much our finances were at the heart of spiritual wellness and freedom and also relational health. I'm developing new habits and financial fitness, which was one of my goals for the year.
That is unbelievable. So a couple things that I think is interesting. Jennifer is tracking the budget weekly. She mentioned she has a family, but she's doing a monthly budget, but she's tracking it weekly and doing reconciliation. So she's holding herself accountable, not just at the end of the month. She's doing it every week through the month. And then she's connected to that statement that we say that money is finite. So, it's not infinite, it's finite. And then also connecting the dots and make it into tangible, understandable terms of how many hours did I have to work for that? That's not worth that trade. And then the other thing that stood out to me is she said, when I think about it, often I don't end up getting the item. I don't need it. And so that's really good. And also she wraps it up by saying she had new habits and financial fitness, which was one of her goals for the year. And that's the power of setting goals, is it causes you to intentionally look for a solution, a fix, a way to accomplish that goal. It led her to be a part of this study, and she's doing it at her church, and it's affecting her spiritually, her feeling of freedom, and also relationally, and that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Anything else stand out to you as you read that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's her habit is changing too. So things that she used to just put on her credit card and they sat there, she's now able to pay cash for. So she has different, funds set up. She's able to save for those, and it's not necessarily a crisis that she has to swipe the credit card for and go into more debt for items like that are happening. So those known upcoming non-monthly expenses that she knows are happening, she's able to start saving for so that she can pay cash for them when they come. So
can I rant for a minute?
Go for it.
Are you done with your thought? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure.
I want to rant for a second too, because she says I'm saving in known expense categories and can now pay cash for things like car repairs, pet fees, gifts, and seasonal sports costs for the kids. Before, these went on the Visa and sat. And ultimately, I just want to speak to all of our listeners about this. Listen, it is okay, as you're starting out in your money journey, to put this stuff on a credit card. Like that is the solution. You don't have saved money and you have the fee. You're going to have to do that. Mm-hmm. But seriously, some point in time, that has to stop.
Yeah.
Like, you will not win with money if you're continually putting car repairs, pet fees, gifts, and seasonal sports costs on a credit card.
Yeah.
At some point in time, you have to draw the line and say, that's not going to happen anymore. I'm going to manage money differently so that pet fees, gifts, seasonal costs, car repairs, all that stuff, it goes on my credit card, but I pay it off immediately. I'm just doing it to get the points. Because you cannot win with money. And ultimately, do you really want to be 15 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 years from now, if you're putting this type of stuff, like Jennifer was, on a credit card? Hey, listen, podcast listener, are you putting on your credit card your pet grooming fee? Are you putting on your credit card the vet bill, the car repair, seasonal sports costs? If you're putting that stuff on a credit card, if you're financing it, not paying it off, when are you going to change that behavior? Because for me, it made my heart despair that I would wake up 20 years from now and still be doing all this nonsense with money and still making it paycheck to paycheck. And Jennifer has had the moment that changed her life. Yeah. She had it. She experienced this moment. And in that power of saying, I'm not doing what I was doing, it used to go to Visa and SAT, not happening anymore. It cannot be overstated how powerful of a moment Jennifer has had, because she has changed the behavior. The budget is a key tool. A mindset is a key tool. Being part of a group is a key tool. Having financial mentoring and training is key tools. All of them are working together based on a goal she had for herself to become financially fit. And I would just say, Jennifer's going to look back 20 years from now, and pet fees are just pet fees, just whatever, okay, whatever it is, and be able to pay for it because she made good decisions today. Mm-hmm. So podcast listeners, that's what we want for you. We want this stuff to be, for you to worry about the more important stuff, not about how am I going to pay to get the dog groomed, how am I going to pay for the kids' sports costs. I want you to be free of all that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Was it a nice rant? Kind of nice?
That's great.
A pleading? Awesome. Yeah. All right, so let's teach. Let's write now relevant stuff.
Here we go. Okay, so our question is, I'm a saver, but my husband is a spender. How can we make our finances work? Do you have any tips for understanding the difference between savers and spenders? So we really get asked this question a lot, and it's a relational question that is honestly like a tough question if you're in it. As we all know, money is one of the number one things that couples can argue about. It's often cited as the reason couples get divorced or stuff like that. And so it's a big issue. And so we definitely want to help kind of explain the difference between savers and spenders. So discussing how you spend your money is a huge conversation that is often skipped before couples get married, and it can lead to disagreements in the future if you aren't careful. And so in one article by Business Insider, Andrea
Warrock?
Yeah, sure.
Warrock?
A personal finance writer.
Sorry, Andrea.
Sorry, Andrea.
We don't know how your last name is. enunciated.
She said, if one partner spends without the thought and the other frantically saves every penny, there's bound to be tension. The spender may feel his or her partner is constantly nagging and cheap, while the saver may feel vulnerable to the effort of overindulging. And so we wanted to really talk about this issue because, honestly, in this Business Insider article also, they talk about how opposing views on money is often one of the biggest issues for tearing couples apart.
Yeah.
And so this is an opposing issue if you don't deal with it. And so it's trying to figure out how to deal with it in the marriage and how to know the difference between a saver and a spender. So we all know that you are a spender.
I am.
And what would you classify your wife as?
Well, she's a saver.
She is a saver.
Yes.
So what do you see as the biggest difference in your spending habits? So your tendencies versus Jen's tendencies.
So here's the thing. Jenny she retains the original dollar she ever earned and has never spent money ever. And I would just say this, that she wants to spend stuff around the household and on the kids. That's the stuff. If there's ever any sign of spending, that's what it's going to be on. It would never be on herself. And so what I see as the biggest difference is I'm willing to risk it far more. And one of the things that has happened, though, over time is when we first started out, I was wildly spending all the time on things I wanted, and it jeopardized our ability to get the things we needed. I want to say that again because it's really important. I wildly spent on things I wanted, hunting, fishing, outdoors, recreation, nonsense stuff, and it jeopardized the things we actually needed. And that caused her great dismay. And so us getting together with a budget, just our success story said, it affected us relationally in a much better way, got us on the same page. And I think she immediately saw that putting the debit card away, chopping up our credit cards, we lived for nearly 6 years, I believe, without a credit card. She saw I had fundamentally changed. And over time, what I've seen is we've merged to become very similar in how we view money and how we deal with money. So for me, she wants to plan it and see it accumulating over time before we'd ever spend money on it. I say, hey, I figure out I can get money from here, 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 and here, and here, and we'll make up the difference in good looks and figure it out. And she's like, I don't understand that good looks thing. I think you're fresh out, and she doesn't deal with fuzziness.
Yeah.
She wants immense clarity. And I have this faith thing that says, I believe we can get the rest of the way there. Yeah. So I see that as the differences. I don't know if that explains any of it.
Yeah.
So let me turn around the question for you, Megan. I think you're a saver. Is that right?
That is correct.
And Jordan is a saver spender.
So he's more of the spender in our relationship, but he's not the full blown, that you were. He likes to save.
He's not out of control.
He's easy.
He's not spending more than you have.
It's easy for him to spend. On things that
he's easy to spend the money you have.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So tell us.
Yes.
How do you see that difference? Like for you as a saver?
So for me, one of the big things is it takes me forever to actually pull the trigger on spending something. Even if I've been saving for it for 5-10 years, it's hard for me to actually break up with the money. So for an instance, before we had Logan, we knew we needed to upgrade our car to a bigger car because we both had small cars. One of our cars was 2 doors. It's really hard to put a car seat in a 2-door car. So we knew we needed to upgrade. So we saved for a while and we looked and we bought a used 4Runner, which 4Runner is the dream car for me that I always wanted. Conveniently, it's also the dream car that Jordan wanted too. So we kind of fought over who gets to drive it for a while. I won out, which is great.
It's federal law.
Yeah. But we had saved this money. We had it. It was a great decision for us to spend our money. We did the research. We knew this car forwards and backwards. We knew who we were buying it from. We had a great friend who owns a car dealership and was giving us a great deal. All of these things were lining up perfectly. But it came the moment where we actually had to break up with the money. And it was one of the hardest things for me to do. Even though it was a great thing and we had saved for it, as a spender, as a saver, I wish, but as a saver, it was just the hard moment to say like, okay, we're going to break up with this money because this is the thing we've saved for and now we can have it.
Because of what that money represents? Because it's margin, security?
I think it's the margin and security of having that money there, but at some point it's we've talked about it a lot, but it's that new zero. Once you hit that, what is enough to have? So it's that moment where you're like, we have enough, we need to spend it on this thing, but it's going to bring us back.
So we're trying to help couples who are, one's a saver, one's a spender, how to navigate it. We both have this in our marriages. So for me and my bride, what I find that is helpful, the tool that is helpful is, there's several tools. Mm-hmm. One of them is Microsoft Excel. Mm-hmm. Now Google Drive has Google spreadsheets. It's the same thing. Being able to show Jenny on paper the exact snapshot of where the money is, how much we have, what's allocated to what. So that is a huge tool. Mm-hmm. Having the monthly budget, which we give for free on our website, is a huge tool to sit down and say, this is where the dollars for this month are going. Mm-hmm. And anything that's going to something we're saving up towards, well, that snapshot in Excel that I was just talking about, that's the second document that she sees. Mm-hmm. Those are tools that are very helpful. But I find there's another tool that's helpful, and that is, it's called waiting. It's a unique tool. And this tool of waiting is where we get start getting ideas of, hey, that right there could attract me to spend some money on it. And so it goes on a list. Things I'd like to have. So I'll give a right now example. So we had some positive financial stuff happen in our life, which tends to happen more often when you have a budget. And we got some extra money. And Jen Sangle has registered with the committee, which is she and I, that she would like to spend money for furniture for the porch. So we'd enjoy our outdoor porch. We have fans. It's 13 feet deep. It's 30 feet long. It's a really nice porch. It's covered. Nice. She wants to have a dining table that's all weather out there. And so she's registered this. Mm-hmm. And she's registered at an approximate cost. So now that probably happened 8 weeks ago. She's now been screenshotting different deals at Sam's Club or Lowe's or Home Depot, Wayfair, and other websites, Overstock. She's been sending them to me. This is reminding me of the registration, right? So this is a want for it. And I realize that's part of her process of breaking up with the money. This is a concept we talk about. Savers have difficulty parting ways with the money. So we have this concept of breaking up. Right? Like a relationship, breaking up with a relationship, you have to break up with this person. They're not good for you long term. It's just not working out. Yeah. You just got to break up. You can't drag this on. So that's the thing with money is you have to eventually say, I've broken up with the money. We've agreed. We're breaking up with the money. The money is gone. Ben Franklin is gone. Andrew Jackson is gone. Ulysses S. Grant, gone. They're gone. This item, we want more through a budget, Excel spreadsheet, and this registration of this thing we want and putting it in front of ourselves on a regular basis. That's how she as a saver processes it, and how me as a spender say, okay, I feel comfortable enough. We've done the research. We kind of know what a deal is. I think we know the type of thing we want. Yeah. This is the best deal. Let's do it.
Yeah. So she sounds extremely like me,
okay,
which is no surprise. But so one of the things for me as a saver is we also are looking at patio furniture. So we want to redo our back patio. So right now we don't have any shade in our backyard, and it is like 8 billion degrees in South Carolina.
It's the fifth season known as
in
Inferno.
July and August, and sometimes into September. It's just hot. And so we want to bring our patio out and bring like a covering and fans and all that kind of stuff. But we also want a dining room table that we can sit out there and like a sitting area with a fire pit. I got big hopes and dreams for that spot.
This is awesome. But I hope you haven't been on Pinterest too much.
But yeah, that's what gets you. But yes, so I do the research. I can easily pick out exactly what I want. and I can screenshot it to Jordan and send it to him, and this is what I want. But then it's also like, okay, that's a lot of money. So I think it's the same way. It's processing through, looking at all the options, but it's also making sure for me that I'm getting the best deal. So I want the best deal. So I'm going to do the research to know that I'm getting the best deal. But I think for me as a saver, a couple of the tools that I use, I feel like the budget allows me to feel the freedom to spend. So as a saver, it's easy for me to just spend money on groceries or gas or things that aren't really fun. But when I have that clothing budget, or when I have that, the spending budget that I can spend on whatever, it's a lot easier for me to say, well, I haven't spent that this month, so it's okay if I buy this thing on Amazon or at Target or wherever it is, because I have the money already allocated for that fund.
Yeah.
But another thing that we use a whole lot is on online banks, they have the different buckets that you can use. So we're constantly putting money into the different buckets. So I can see that each month we're saving in this category. So, we have the home improvement fund, which is probably the most of what I spend is in that fund. And then Jordan now has a new car fund, so he wants a truck. And so he's starting to save for that. And so we have these funds where these dreams that we have, we're able to see funded each month because we're constantly putting money into that.
That's great.
And as a saver, that's a way that I know the money's there because each month we're saving.
So as
for
you
it.
accumulate these dollars for the truck, for the furniture, how do you keep track of it?
Yeah, so we have the different buckets in our online account. So we know
On an online bank. So
Yeah.
what is the bank you use?
So we like Ally.
ALLY. That's under our next steps area.
Yep.
I use Ally.
You like Marcus too.
I also like Marcus.
So we'll link our online banks so that you guys can check those out. Honestly, right now they're not really making a whole lot of. That used to be a really big selling feature. Is they would make a lot of, not a lot, but they would make extra interest for you. It's not really happening right now. I'm hopeful that maybe one day it might, but
it will.
The buckets are really a great feature. So I know in the next 5 years, this money we're going to use. So that's why we're putting it in our online savings account versus investing it, because we know in the next 5 years, these are purchases that we're going to make.
So I want to spell this out for our podcast listeners. When Megan's saying buckets, it's named like little sub accounts. So think of like a card catalog or like a storage shelf in your garage, and there's different slots to put mail or bolts or things in. You can name them. When you log into Ally, it doesn't just say available balance. It says emergency fund, truck fund, outdoor furniture fund. And you have a lot of these buckets. I don't know how many buckets you're working on, but
We got a lot.
I think it's like close to 20. Is that right?
Sure.
But it allows you to have immense clarity on what those dollars are there for, instead of just always having to remember, because you'll forget. And if you forget, you'll accidentally spend the money on something else. And then the day comes and it's like, oh my goodness, now I remember what that money was for. So the tools we've listed that have helped us as savers and spenders are the budget, which I'm a spender and you're a saver, and we're both saying budgets are very helpful.
Yeah.
And then online banks, so you have clarity. I use an Excel spreadsheet as well to give clarity with that. And then we're also talking about the registration of a need or want with the committee, which is the couple. So the saver and spender can spend the time going through the emotional processing of breaking up with money.
Yep, that's right.
So let's give some advice for making it work as a saver and a spender. Megan?
Yes.
I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah. So I have a couple here that we've kind of written down, and then you can share some that you have. But I feel like if you've never had a conversation about this, now is the time. So find the moment that works best for your family. So probably not Friday night when the kids are running around crazy, but find a time when you both feel mentally there, when you can have this conversation, maybe when your kids aren't around, when you're able to, really talk through that, because you might be, if you've been married for a long time and never had that conversation, it could be some things that you need to work through about the past, about how one person has spent money or one person hasn't spent money. And so it could be a hard conversation, but imagine what's going to come out of that. So making sure you're talking about your spending habits, but also talk about your plans, hopes, and dreams as a couple. So what do you want to do as a couple? What do you want to do individually? What are your hopes? What are your dreams? What kind of things do you guys want to save for, and that kind of stuff. Those are great things to encourage you in that conversation.
Can I speak to that? It's something that triggered with that is, as you progress with this, and this is the payoff of having this conversation, is you will progress financially, and you'll be able to acquire bigger wants, so to speak. So one of those for my family is I wanted to have a fishing boat, right? So fishing boats are not cheap. I did not want a clunker. I'm not a repair person. I don't get joy about repairing and fixing stuff. I wanted to start. So I wanted to buy a new boat when I bought one, and we had money saved up for it for a long time. And I realized as I was going through this process that my wife doesn't have a lot of interest in fishing. She does have interest in hanging out together.
Yeah.
She does have an interest of soaking up sun rays while I fish.
That's right.
She also has interest in going out as a family in a boat. So as we went through this process of years of discussion, decades of fishing in borrowed boats, that, hey, a combination boat that can allow us to fish and ski that's the option that works for all of us. And as we're recording this podcast, I just finished a week at a lake where for the first time we pulled out the pole where we could connect a tube to it. And literally we did almost no fishing and wore that boat out, pulling kids around on a tube.
That's fun.
And all of her family was saying how the boat just transformed the trip. And so I feel like as I was driving that boat around and my GPS, the fish finder has a GPS and it marks everywhere you went. I'm going to take a picture of it. It literally looks like a kid has scribbled circles all over 300, 400 circles where we went in circles pulling the tube. And I kind of want to snapshot it and say, that's the payoff of working collaboratively together with my bride to be able to save up money so we could pay cash for it and be able to enjoy this great, tremendous, unbelievable blessing because we started the conversation way back when.
Yeah.
So for those of you who you're nervous about this conversation, the payoff is the long term.
Yeah.
There will be some immediate short-term pain potentially because the spender will feel like you're accusing them if you're a saver wanting to have the conversation. And make no mistake about it, the saver is the one who's going to start this conversation. Probably not the spender. The spender isn't going to come up, hey, I really feel like you're just saving too much money.
How dare you?
Unless the saver's got control of the spending and not allowing any spending.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a big thing. So I interrupt you.
That's
Want
okay.
to share the story?
No, but actively work towards achieving at least one dream together and finding an individual dream for your spouse. So for us, this kind of fits into that too. We saved for a long time for a boat. Last Thursday morning, my husband and I both have flexible jobs. And so thankfully, thank you for that. So Thursday morning, we went out and we took the boat out and we spent all morning out there and we tied up to an island and we floated and it was so fun. We had our little boy and we were playing and he was having a great time, but it was that payoff that you're talking about. And I think for me as a saver, every time we experience those moments as a family where we're having a good time or we take our family or our friends out with us and we're just able to enjoy this thing that we saved so long for, I feel that level of gratitude. And Jordan and I often have people say, Jordan was filling up the boat the other day and he was like, somebody stopped him and was like, man, that's such a nice boat. I wish that we could have that. And it was just this moment of not taking things for granted, but also the hard work that we spent in. So we said no to a lot of things so that we could say yes to this. And it wasn't a bad no. It was this is the thing that we're saying.
This is the greater yes.
So we're saying not now to these things so that we can say yes to this moment.
That's great.
So
just to speak to that, they say this statement that says savers make sure you show up at retirement with money. Spenders make sure you have fun getting there.
Yeah.
So would you, of your own self, would you have ever bought a boat?
No, I need Jordan.
So Jordan brings this fun component,
yes,
right?
He is the fun in our family.
So spenders, I'm just saying it, spenders are the party.
Yeah.
But the savers make sure you stay on the road and don't go into the ditch.
Yeah.
It's very important. Both are wildly important. So it's really good. You had a couple other tips you wanted to share.
Yeah. So in these moments, but in the conversation, but then also moving forward, be quick to forgive financial mistakes. So trying to believe the best about your spouse and be quick to forgive them. So having the conversation and offering grace in that moment. Because
honey, I'm sorry. I accidentally bought a truck. It's got a Cummins diesel engine. It's $850 a month for 7 years.
Yeet. Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
So how do you forgive that?
Yeah.
Well, you have to believe the best about them. Quickly forgive.
Ask if they can get
it's
a
very
refund.
challenging. Try to ask if they can take it back, right? No, but it is very challenging. We don't want to make light of this. We understand that some spenders have made some massive spending decisions that affect the entire family, affect the saver very deeply, and they really had no say in it.
Yeah.
So we understand that. So rushing to forgiveness, while hard, will allow you to avoid the bitter root of unforgiveness, which roots to bitterness from ever invading your heart.
And I feel like a way to make that not the issue is to listen and talk through upcoming financial decisions. So if you're the spender and you're wanting to buy something, having the conversation. So if you're wanting to buy the truck, having the conversation with your spouse that is a saver about how you can save for that. What is the timeline? So that's often a conversation that Jordan and I have is, this is a dream we have. What is the timeline for us? How do we need to start saving? What do we need to cut? How do we trim the fat? How can we make this a reality? Is this a 5-year dream, a 10-year dream? Like what? Just so we both mentally know, we're both planners. And so knowing what we're saving for and how long it's going to take. And for the spender, it's great to know. So for Jordan, it's great to know, okay, in the next 5 years, this is something that can become a reality for me. Because it gives him something to work towards, which is great.
100%.
And then be open and honest with each other. So like we said in the beginning, money conversations and like financial issues are often like a really big thing that wrecks relationships and marriages and that kind of stuff. So be open and honest, have the conversation, talk about it, and listen to each other could make the difference in how you, approach these conversations and these decisions that you're going to have to make. So.
Yeah, and I think that's really clear is talking through it. Lots of communication. Those are great tips. And so I do encourage you, just recognize you are different and you do both bring great value to the table. There's a reason why you're wired differently. And so the quote for today is from Warren Buffett, the founder, the Oracle of Omaha, Berkshire Hathaway. And he says, "Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving." In other words, you got to prioritize it. And I think that speaks to both the spender and the saver.
Yes.
Hey, next week, we are so fired up.
Yes.
Next week, we're going to have our friend Sarah back. So Sarah is the one who, in a previous episode, talked about feeling compelled to go on a fast from spending. Some people fast from food. She went on a fast from spending.
Yep.
And we're going to talk to her some more about that. We got some exciting stuff in the works that's going to affect our fully funded life members. And it's going to be an opportunity available to all of the people listening to our podcast. I think you're really going to listen to this episode. It's absolutely against the grain of what consumerism is, but I think we need that.
Yeah.
And so we're super excited to have Sarah back with us.
And every time I talk to her or have a conversation, I every time leave challenged and encouraged. So I feel like you guys will as well. So
she has an excellent gift with the use of words.
Yeah, it's awesome. So if you like today's episode, please help us get this podcast to others. You could do this by quickly rating our podcast and leaving a review. And these ratings and reviews will help make our podcast better for other listeners. And make sure if you implemented one of our tips or tricks or you had a success story, make sure to share that with us. You can email us at info@iwbnin.com and we would love to feature it on the podcast.
Today's Monday. Sometime before the end of the week, resolve to have the conversation with your fellow alternate ego. If you're the saver, have that conversation with the spender. And if you're a spender, hey, go have the conversation with the saver. They will almost fall over dead of a heart attack that you're saying, I want to talk about this, but they will be so grateful you did. So have a great week. Go prosper and win with money. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.